Good evening. I'm Fakey Newsington coming at you from CNN. I am here live in Afghanistan where the Taliban has now overthrown the government.
Death to America. Death to America. Death to America.
Yes, they are chanting death to America right now currently, but it seems to be a very friendly environment surrounding me.
Death to America. There's an American.
Ow. Why did you throw this at me, you mean Talibani?
A man has just thrown a projectile at an American citizen here, but it seems like he's just expressing his internalized oppression. We have a lot of empathy for the people here over in Afghanistan. Back to you, CNN.
Brian Stelter here.
And scene. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show today. I'm one of your co-hosts, Amala Panobi. We've got Will Witt here. We've got Taylor Trandle here. And we have a special guest by the name of Garrett Powell.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me.
You might recognize him from The Bachelorette, but, you know, who knows? Let's
have Garrett introduce himself a little bit. Garrett, just to tell everyone what you're all about, you know, who you are.
Thank you, sir.
What do people need to know?
Yeah, Garrett Powell, born and raised Birmingham, Alabama. You might recognize me from season 15 of The Bachelorette, this Hannah Brown season. I like to joke and say I'm a has-been, which I kind of am, but I'm a PGA professional and a PragerFORCE influencer.
Garrett, you are not a has-been in our hearts.
Oh, man, thank you so much.
Yeah,
you're welcome.
We're all has-beens here, so it's fine.
Or never was.
Yeah.
Once you join the conservative party, you're a has-been.
Yeah.
It's so welcome here. I mean, jeez. I get it now.
Amala, how does it feel to have all these handsome men surrounding you? Do you feel like The Bachelorette?
I do feel like The Bachelorette. I will be giving out roses at the end of this episode, and will be going home.
Going home where?
It's just the mustache.
It's just the mustache.
Hot Scott will take his spot.
Yeah, no, Hot Scott can definitely take my spot.
I like how that's just the concession that we all make.
Yeah, oh yeah.
It's like, it's just okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, our opening skit is in relation to a clip that came out of CNN, a very short one. Let's go ahead and rig that up for you guys and play it. Here we go.
They're just chanting death to America, but they seem friendly at the same time. It's utterly bizarre. At the president.
Wow. Do you guys ever...
I'm not sure the video played just now, but you guys heard the audio and you've probably seen it on the internet, but I must have technical difficulties right now. But if you want to just describe it to him, maybe, Amala.
Yeah, I mean, we had a young CNN contributor by the name of Clarissa come up and say, I'm here in with the Taliban here in Afghanistan, and they're all chanting death to America, but they are friendly, which is bizarre, is what she said.
They're fiery but peaceful protests, just like we saw during Black Lives Matter.
It's exactly like what we saw.
Why can't CNN and these fake media organizations call out truth when they actually see it? It's one of the most upsetting things about the mainstream media, and I tweeted about this the other day, that distrusting the mainstream media should not just be some conservative talking point that we have. Distrusting the mainstream media should really be a truth seeker's talking point, because the mainstream media, all it does is continually lie, and the people who own these big mainstream media outlets are only working towards their own self-interest. So this isn't surprising for CNN to come out and say this. And honestly, a lot of the people who work at CNN, people who work in mainstream media themselves, hate America themselves. So I'm sure they think that this is actually very friendly and peaceful. They want to put Black Lives Matter and pride flags all over Afghanistan now. Wild.
It is wild. When I saw that, I couldn't get it. I mean, we've seen bad news clips out of CNN. Again, we saw the BLM riots of last summer. We saw what they were saying during the peaceful riots where businesses were getting burned down. People were dying in the streets to the tune of 24 people were killed last summer during the BLM riots, all in the name of one man. Amazing. So that was bad reporting at its finest. But this is even worse to me.
This is worse than BLM.
This is worse than their report.
Why do you say that?
On BLM. Just to say that death to America from the Taliban is friendly is just, it just blows my mind.
It does, but that's because these people don't like this country. The people who work at CNN don't have America's best interests at heart. If they had America's best interests at heart, then we wouldn't be dealing with this right now. We wouldn't be having to deal with mainstream media lying all the time.
Right.
But they don't think that America is an inherently good place. So when they see people from another country that's halfway around the world screaming that they want America to die, they are not going to call out horrible things when they see it, because they themselves are rooting against America too.
It's true, and they have this understanding of, oh yes, America is a bad country, so it's okay for other people to acknowledge that, even through the scope of saying that they want Americans dead. It's okay, and that's we can spin that on live television, on a public forum, to all of America's people and citizens, and say that this is friendly.
Well, it's not.
It's not. Now, here's another photo featuring this same CNN contributor or correspondent, Clarissa Ward. Now, this was her on August 15th in Afghanistan. Notice that she is not covered in a burqa. And on August 16th, the very next day, covered in a burqa as the Taliban takes over the government.
So respectful of her.
Right. And it's probably because
nice.
they're so friendly that they just wanted to make sure that she had the proper cultural attire, that nothing would happen to her.
It's like the people who are going out of their way to oppress you, you still decide that you want to defend them, which is like it's like Stockholm syndrome. That's right, Stockholm syndrome. That's what I'm thinking of, right?
Yeah, it's like when you get kidnapped and you fall in love with the person who's kidnapped.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you're like, these people are oppressing you, but you're like, I have to defend them, because if I don't, then it looks bad for CNN, basically. But they're now going to make you wear a burqa, and then they're hurting people in their own country, and it's like, why are you defending them? Why are you defending them, saying that death to America is a friendly thing to say?
Yeah, a group of people that would be so fervently against your existence, and you being a woman and showing your face and showing your neck, and she knows that, which is why she's wearing that. She knows that they would not be friendly towards her otherwise. She knows that if she took that off and people saw her, that there would be dire consequences and fatal consequences in many cases. And we see the pictures right now coming out of Afghanistan, where they're taking down photos of models that show their face and show their hair, because they know that those women are not subjugated, that they're expressing their freedom, and that's not something that they want to see under their government and under their control.
Something interesting to point out is, in the Middle Eastern countries, is making women cover their faces so that you can't really see them and their emotions and the things that they say, in comparison with what we're doing here in the States with masks and things, where you are covering people up and making it so that, you know, you can't see people's emotions and be able to communicate non-verbally with people. It's very similar in a lot of ways.
It is very similar, and it's
dehumanization.
It's dehumanization.
Yeah. Right, but
they're both
for us, it's in the name of health and wellness, so it's okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, all of these things, both scenarios are both in the name of the greater good.
Yeah. Well, the effect, though, is dehumanization and like disempowerment.
Right.
And that same is true for the burqas and the face rags.
Right.
Right, and it shows that if the threat is dire enough, or if the shame that you would feel from the society around you, or the consequences that you would feel from the society around you are strong enough, you'll do anything to keep yourself alive, and to keep yourself from feeling shame, and to keep yourself from being ostracized by your society. That's why we put masks on. That's why a lot of women in the Middle East are forced to wear burqas, people who wouldn't have done that under any other circumstance. Well, let's move on to a fun little Twitter thread that Will found and sent to us. This one is from Jesse Kelly. We'll start off reading the first one, and we can kind of react and talk about each of the different tweets in this thread. One major problem America has is it's been so insulated from the ugly parts of life for so long. We want to win wars, but just don't hurt anyone but the bad guys. We want to leave Afghanistan, but only if no innocents die when we do. Welcome to the real world.
It's tough to say. It's something that stings a little bit, I think, for a lot of people to hear that war is hard, and that America, having, you know, two oceans on its sides, having the biggest navy and all of these defenses against evil throughout the rest of the world, it makes us not really realize what the
makes some brilliant points here. Is we live in this cushy country where we have all of these afforded freedoms, and we get to live a generally very, very comfortable life, especially in comparison to other people. So it's hard to sort of sit here and discuss what life is like for them and what decisions we should make as a country that will directly impact people who we could never possibly step in the shoes of.
I think it's the word oppressed too. Like, people have been told for the last, I don't know, over a year that they're oppressed here. And then we use the same language and verbiage with the people of Afghanistan. So some of us think, oh yeah, so we're kind of on the same level. But the fact is, it's like, we're just not. We're not even close. And so we can't rightfully make a proper decision based off their circumstances when we're in this great nation and we're not oppressed at all.
And people in Afghanistan aren't having pride festivals with dudes walking around other dudes like dogs on them.
Definitely
like,
not.
That's not happening in that country, okay? The levels of oppression that in these two places are not even comparable. It's not even comparable for people in America to say that they're oppressed when looking at other countries. And I don't want to downplay people's things. You know, you can have problems living here in America, just be not synonymously with problems happening in another country. You can both have problems, but to compare the two and say that you are just as oppressed as the other people, or this patriarchy, or this homophobic society, or racist society, it's just not true. Look at that's real tyranny.
Yeah, it's that. What's that classic quote of, like, you know, strong men create good times create weak men, weak men create hard times create strong men. Like, where we are in that life cycle is we're definitely in the weak men creating hard times.
Absolutely. And this is what Jesse Kelly goes on to say in his Twitter thread. We'll read the last 2 tweets here. This is why I've been so loud for so long, warning about all the rot in our military, the women on ships and frontline combat units, the woke garbage, all of it. I've been so loud because you really, really don't want to lose a war on your soil. It's horror beyond belief. I suspect the coming generations of Americans are going to see the ugly side of life, the inevitable outcome of nations that get fat, rich, bored, and decadent. They lose all mooring to what made them great. Then one day, the barbarians come, and it happens so fast. That's all.
Yeah, that's literally describing ancient Rome. I mean, the barbarians came and destroyed ancient Rome because Rome got too big and too decadent and too safe and didn't know what was going on at all, and their economy was bad and inflation. A lot of similarities to what we have now.
Yeah, and I like the point that you make, Garrett, of comparing that we use the same verbiage here to describe what it's like to live as an American in this cushy nation, and we use the same verbiage when we're talking about people in Afghanistan, and they're just in no way the same. They're in no way comparable at all.
We've got it so easy, and we've got it so great, and it's a blessing, but, like, they're not comparable, and I wish some individuals would realize that, and, you know, we can't make decisions for those people over there because we don't know. We just don't know.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And that's been sort of the subject matter of our most recent 5-minute video, What Unites Americans? So I'm going to play a little clip of that for you. You can go and check it out by going to PragerU.com, clicking watch, go to 5-minute videos, and it's our latest upload. Here we go.
Corner of the globe. We represent every race, every ethnicity, every religion. So what unifies us? 2 things: values and history. History? How can history unify us if we come from so many different places? My parents illustrate my point. They came from India and settled in the rural South. You don't get much further away from your ethnic origins than that. Like generations of immigrants before them, my parents, my brother, and I studied the inspiring stories of the Mayflower, the Boston Tea Party, the settling of the West, the personal stories and struggles of great American men and women. We fully adopted American history as our own. My friend, Dennis Prager, has a special way of expressing this. He says he has 2 historical fathers: Abraham, the father of the Jewish people, and George Washington, the father of the American people.
There we go. I'm going to go ahead and pause that there. If you want to check out the rest of our newest 5-minute video, you can go to PragerU.com, click watch, go to 5-minute videos, and watch our latest upload, What Unites Americans. And he does make a very interesting point, is that we used to have an America where everybody was aware of American history, American tradition, American values, and we were assimilated in that sense, and we shared that. And it was sort of, I don't want to say a group thing, but a widely held acknowledgement of American values and what it meant to be an American. And now our society has lost that. And with that loss has come a great divide between people who understand the founding of America and what the vision is for this country and what the vision is for our government, and then a group of people who don't.
This is one of the worst things about what's happening at the southern border, too, because people are coming into this country. What was it, 60% or was it 90% of the people who are coming in through the southern border aren't actually from Mexico? What was the stat?
It was I don't know. It was a lot.
It was a lot of people. An
exorbitant amount.
Yeah, and a lot of these people who are coming in through the southern border don't like this country and have no plans of assimilating, because assimilation used to be something that was not a requirement. You weren't required to assimilate, but it was almost necessary to participate in American culture back in the day. Assimilation and becoming a part of the melting pot was something that you did to be able to have a productive life living in this country.
Right.
But now, since people growing up are so weak and hate this country, now you come into America, and the good thing to do is to hate this country and not appreciate what it's for and disregard the history and take advantage of it. And so now that's a thing that we have, and then more people are coming in who also share those same values of hatred and disgust, and it's just turning into an awful situation where the people, like, we'll get into this speech that I gave this weekend in a little bit, but I went to this speech, and in Los Angeles, it was or pro-freedom rally, more like it. And there was probably about, I don't know, 500 people there, something like that, who actually came out. This is in Los Angeles, a city with 10 million people. And I know that there are more conservatives in Los Angeles than, 500 of them who actually came to this event.
Right.
But it's like when so many people around you hate on America and hate the things that you hold dear, it makes it so people don't want to even be involved with things that are pro-freedom and pro-American values.
And it's because they don't understand it anymore. I mean, you've seen the clips out of CNN. You've seen Don Lemon and Chris Cuomo, and now Arnold Schwarzenegger talk about how they don't even understand why people...
Screw your freedom.
Right. They don't understand. They don't understand why the average American should be attached to their freedom and should be attached to the pursuit of happiness and liberty and life. And when you lose that understanding, you lose your way as a nation. And again, couple that with a lot of illegal immigrants entering the country who have not been assimilated to our culture, who are not going through our regular status for citizenship, which involves them learning about American history and learning about our founding and learning about our Constitution. It's just a recipe for disaster.
When you take away history, that means that people have no uniting force around them.
Right. Mm-hmm.
This is the same thing they did in 1984. In 1984, George Orwell's novel, I mean, they told you that you can't talk about history. Because when you can't look back as a society and say, oh, things were so good 20 years ago, things were so good 50 years ago, 100 years ago, if you can't do that because history is erased or disregarded or disrespected, then there's nothing uniting people together, no community values. So it's incredibly important that you teach history, especially teaching history in the right way that shows what actually happened. And that's, again, if the history was bad, if America did bad things, if all these other people did bad things, tell people about that. Tell people about that so you can know that, okay, other people saw this bad stuff happening and powered through it, and you can be one of those people. It's like you have to teach the bad history, but just teach history in general so we can have a through line of what America is.
Yeah, because they say, what's the saying? Like, if you don't understand your history, it's bound to repeat itself. And so it's imperative that we hold on to the history that we have as this great nation and understand how do we get from point A to point B. Well, we started at point A, right? We have to understand everything that happened and learn from it going forward, right?
And that's what's so dangerous about all this woke curriculum in schools and universities and in elementary schools is like, you don't want an activist version of history. You want an honest version of history. Right. And that's how you indoctrinate an entire population and really make a civilization downfall is when you rewrite the history. And like Will was saying, as they do in 1984, there was no history except what the party approved, to be. And we need an honest, that's the value of free speech, open information. You need an honest retelling of history so that you can actually learn from it and not make the mistakes like Garrett's talking about.
Like history gives you your values. Because if you see what your ancestors did and you're like, oh my goodness, my ancestors threw a bunch of tea off of a boat in opposition to tyranny. And that was for a 1% tax, by the way. Just so people are aware of what we fought for back then versus what we fight for now.
Right.
Like that tells you that, okay, these people did this. It means that I can also do this. I can be someone to fight against tyranny. Versus if that isn't there, if people don't know about this happening and the only thing you hear about is how horrible America is and how woke everything is, then you're not going to feel like you're someone who actually has any sort of meaning in their lives and it's just all apathetic and you can't actually fight for something.
Yeah, and it's not even learning like how to fight against tyranny anymore. It's learning what tyranny is. I feel like a lot of people don't even understand. Yeah, people don't even understand what it means to live under a tyrannical government or what the steps of moving towards a tyrannical government look like. And a simple look at the Revolutionary War in American history would show you that and would tell you that, and you would be able to see the telltale signs that are occurring right now in our society. But people don't care to look at that because now our founding fathers and the men who fought for this country to exist are white supremacists.
Where's the tar and where's the feathers? I don't know. It's getting crazy out here.
But, everybody who's here today on this show, and that includes Garrett, who has been wonderful in sort of making his presence known to the people who follow him and being unapologetically conservative and pro-American. We see those signs and we are trying to fight back against it. And Will and I recently went to a rally, a pro-freedom rally here in LA at LA City Hall, and Will did a speech there. So let's get into that.
I can't tell you what it's like. I go around every single day talking to people on social media, on the street, people at a restaurant, and everyone is so worried about what's going to happen, right? Everyone is so worried. But I can tell you for a fact that because we are worried and because America is going to a place of decline, there has never been a more unprecedented time in America for all of us here to be heroes. People ask me questions every single day about, what am I supposed to do about this, or about this mandate, or this sort of deal that I'm supposed to deal with. I have one word answer, and it's about being brave. Being brave is the #1 thing we can do. People are taking advantage of us right now in this country, and people aren't being brave. There's a stigma with conservatives and freedom-loving people that they say, standing up for our rights, standing up for the things we believe in, that's supposed to be easy, right? I can just get out of bed and fight for what I believe in, and things are going to get better. No one said that this was going to be easy. This is the hardest battle that we have ever had to fight as Americans. And I know what it's like being here, okay? I dropped out of school, moved to Los Angeles to fight for these types of things. We have these people right now who are on your social media and the government and the massive corporations who are telling you that there is a consensus. They're telling you that because you are in the minority that you are a crazy person. Being in the minority should be a virtue, but people tell you that because you are in the minority that you should be ashamed, you should be ostracized for not having the same views as everyone else. And I say if we are in the minority, we should be proud to be fighting for the minority of people. In the 1930s in Germany, no medical institution and barely any doctors in Germany stood up against the Third Reich. Basically, every single doctor and medical institution went along with what the Nazis were doing. We have this consensus here in America of people coming on and saying, all the doctors agree, all these experts agree. That means nothing. As long as there are people with freedom flowing through their veins, we can stand up and fight for what is right. And when you are in this minority, you will get censored, you will get shamed, you will get ostracized. Again, this is not easy. When you go on big tech and you talk on social media, what happens? You get censored. You get censored and your videos get taken down. It's happened to me. It's happened to tons and tons of other conservative, freedom-loving people I know. And of course, this is the way that big tech and social media works. Big tech and big media made $1 trillion during this pandemic. Of course, they're going to censor information that has to do with about the lockdowns and the vax mandates. And they tell you that they have your best interests at heart. Isn't that the great lie? It's for the greater good, they say. There has been more damage done in the name of the greater good than any other ideology in history. People have to realize what is actually going on. Why are we here today? To stand up for our First Amendment rights, to stand up for due process, to stand up for the 7th Amendment, to stand up for rights of public property. This is why we are here today. Listen, you can do whatever you want with your body. Anyone here, I'm sure there are people who are vaxxed here today who are still understand what freedom means in this country, who are coming out and supporting people's right to choose. And that is a great thing. My body, my choice, right? Now the conservatives are using that argument. That's funny. These people in power, these people in big tech, Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, these elites on CNN, what do? They hate you. I want to make sure I say this again. The elites in this country, they hate you. This country is ran by an oligarchy of people who hate your values and despise you. They have their own private jets, their own private restaurants, their own private ski resorts, their own private restaurants. They don't care about you. In all honesty, they think you're stupid for fighting for these types of things. That is what the elites think of you, and saying that they're doing it for your best interests at heart. Give me a break. But what they didn't do is account for all of you. They didn't account for me. They didn't account for all of the people who see through the lies and say, I'm going to stand up for the things that I know are right. So you can sit back and you can be a squishy person and say, things are just going to work themselves out. Things are just going to get better. Or you can be someone who says, I'm not going to live a safe and comfortable life. The greatest people in history, the people whose names are remembered in the history books, are the ones who had great suffering, and did something amazing. What type of person are all of you guys going to be? I know what person I am going to be, and I am here until my dying breath to stand up for every single person here's freedoms and make sure that everyone here is able to choose and save California and the rest of the United States. Thank you.
Wow, good job, Will.
Wow.
Epic.
That's close to Theoden speaking before the Rohirrim on
That's what you compare all your speeches to. It's like, if I can hit that. Or Aragorn before they storm the Gate of Mordor. Yeah.
It is not this day. Yeah, that was my speech from that pro-freedom rally. I'll say one thing. Going to one of those things, I did it for free, first of all. Just going to let people know, because I had people in my comments saying profiting all this. It's not true. And going to an event like that, where you don't know what's going to happen, where you don't know who the people are who are putting it on all the time, you don't know what types of people are there supporting it. For me, going to one of those things is risky for my reputation. And I'll be straight up with you guys. Doing something like that is, of course, risky for my reputation. Amala being there and being shown is risky for our reputation, because the things that people will say about us being there is, it's tough what people will say. People will say horrible things. Even people on the, quote unquote conservative side will ostracize people for being at these types of events, because you don't know what's going to happen. But I'm telling you guys, from the bottom of my heart and every single thing that I believe in, I believe in all of the things that I said. And all I want to do is save this country. All I want to do is help America and help all of you guys be the best individuals that you can. I mean, that's why I do this stuff. Putting my reputation on the line, putting whatever on the line for all of you guys, so that we can live in a free country. There's like a difference. I see tons of people every single day on all sides of the political spectrum, and you can tell when people are doing it for their own vanity or for their own clout, but actually aren't helping. I'm not trying to say I'm perfect doing all this, okay? I'm just trying to come on and say that I really do believe in all this, and that's why I go and do this, because I want to help. Amala wants to help. He's the exact same way. You have to actually stand up and do something about this, and be willing to put reputations on the line, or nothing will get done, or everything's just going to continue to get worse.
Right. I'd hope to see a lot more people there, although there was a pretty good turnout. But you would think with what's actually happening in this city and in the nation at large, that more people would be out and fighting against this. And
I do think their marketing was a little bad. I also don't think that enough people knew about it, which is one of the things about it.
And it's also scary. It's scary to show up to things where you could possibly be attacked by somebody, and there are people who really, truly hate you for the things that you believe. And before we had even shown up there, somebody had gotten really hurt, and the police had to come and break it up, and people were fighting and brought it. Yeah, somebody got stabbed by an Antifa member here in LA at this very same place that Will and I were at maybe an hour later. So it is really, truly tough. But if more people can get out there and speak in whatever way is possible for you to do that, in whatever way you feel is safe for you to do that, I mean, I encourage it.
I think what's funny about the left, and it's important about this, I tweeted this the other day when I posted a picture of me at the rally, and it's like, Amala and I, we're fighting for all of you guys who hate us. You say, I hate Will Witt, I hate Amala, I hate PragerU, all this, and you're coming on and like being so against us and what we're doing right now. We're fighting for you too. You understand that? That the people on the left, or just neocons, whoever, or corporate lobbyists, they come on and say, we want this or we want that, but it's really about restricting your freedom. Us, as true freedom-loving people, are actually trying to protect you, person who hates us. We want to make it so that you can continue to hate us, so that you can continue to come online and hate us, or have the ability to choose what you want to do with your body, or that you have the right to due process or private property. Like, we are fighting for even people who hate us, versus where you see the other side who are fighting against people who actually want rights for everybody. That's like the big difference. That's something that really woke me up when I was becoming a conservative. It's like, wow, the people who I hate when I was a liberal, who I hate, actually are still trying to protect.
Right, they're still advocating.
They're still advocating for the things that I would like to keep, versus the side that I was on at the time.
Yeah, and that's an interesting thing. We share that in common, because that was something that I thought about too when I was, working for the left, is that when you really step back for a second and look at it all in its entirety, in the two sides that we talk about today, there's one side that is advocating for themselves to be heard and only themselves to be heard. And there's another side that is advocating that being heard is important for everybody, regardless of what you think. And that alone was enough to influence me in that direction. Yeah. Wow.
Well, hold on. I'm just going to say, I wanted to commend you, Will, for just the tone that you took in that message, and the discipline to stay on, you know your values, you know what you stand for. And a lot of these, we see these protests, a lot of times they're just crazy, people screaming at each other, emotions are high, you're angry and legitimately angry. But it's important to funnel that anger into making better arguments and making a better appeal and appealing to freedom, appealing to, your values and what this is all really about. And I think you just nailed it with the tone of that. And I've seen it go bad in so many ways at these rallies. And like you said, it's scary to go there sometimes because there's a threat of violence, but also and then your reputation, all that. But what am I going to be associated with? And if you went to that one and that guy's just on a megaphone, screaming at people for going into a restaurant that was, checking Vax cards or whatever. And it's that I understand why that's upsetting, but you're not going to accomplish anything by just screaming at random people who are trying to get a sandwich, Right. But if you go out there and your values and it's so important to know what you stand for and to be able to say it. Jordan Peterson talks about that. If you can speak, then you have power. And as long as all you can do is throw a fit and yell and scream and try to shame people, that you're not going to accomplish anything that way. So anyway, I just want to commend you for the way you tackled that speech, and it sets a good model for how people should participate in protests.
It really does, man. And to caddy off what he said, it was imperative that you took the approach of, no, I'm not going to tell you you're wrong and yell at you that you're wrong and say that you're a bad person for it, which I believe, most conservatives they don't take that approach. The left, you tend to see them really howling at you and how wrong you are and yelling and screaming. You took the approach of freedom. Mm-hmm. I'm here to protect freedom. That's what I believe in. And that's the way all of us, frankly, need to handle that discussion, is that it's about freedom. It's not about, telling you that you're wrong or labeling you as a bad individual because of your beliefs. It is, we are fighting for freedom, and that's what conservatism is.
Yeah, we're fighting for truth and goodness, and we're on the right side. So we don't need to resort to shaming people or personal attacks or the things that we see often on the other side. We have the truth on our side, so let's fight with it instead of using these underhanded tactics and resorting to methods of argumentation that are not about the argument itself. Let's stay on the argument.
That was very nice of all you guys.
Good job, Will.
How did I look?
Will's just so humble by default. We just
the stash was powerful.
Listen,
Will.
I am all about confidence. Okay, I couldn't go up there and speak so strongly if I wasn't confident. Okay, but like Kanye talks about. It's it's similar.
Speaking makes me nervous. I don't know.
You practice. You practice and you get much better at it. I used to be so bad and I used to get so nervous. But when we were there at this rally, I thought there was 3 other people ahead of me. I wasn't prepared enough yet with my notes and stuff. And they're just oh, Will, you come up. Yep. I was all right, go up, just do it, rip it off. I'm all right, here we go.
Sometimes pressure just helps you. That's what I find, at least. With me, it's I just need pressure and that it'll come through.
I also had a huge fire in my belly that day.
Yeah.
I was and that wasn't just that wasn't just the whiskey shot we took before. that was the for nervousness. That was actually, felt like I want to do some, So thanks, guys. Appreciate that.
Yeah. Let's move on. I'm gonna.
We don't have to move on. We can.
We can continue.
We can keep complimenting you.
Okay, I want to get into a new development here at PragerU. We actually made a separate YouTube channel for PragerU Kids. So those of you who are parents and educators who have youngins that you want to teach American values, American history, and just find good kids content that is unbiased, we now have PragerU Kids. You can find us on YouTube by searching PragerU Kids. Go ahead and subscribe. I promise you, the content on PragerU Kids, Will and I will watch it just to do, our promos and everything that we need to do to support this little subset of PragerU, but it's actually super entertaining.
No, it is, especially if you went through the public school system and you don't know much about history.
Right.
There's lots of things in there that I don't know. Amala doesn't know. Taylor definitely doesn't know. Intern Tyler knows, but the rest of us, we don't know.
Exactly.
So it's good to watch, and it's something that it's like Shrek. Shrek you can watch with your kids and the kids will be entertained, but the adults will also be entertained.
Yes.
There aren't as many crude jokes in PragerU Kids, but it's still the parent will learn something as well as the kid being entertained and learning something.
It's a fair analogy, Will.
Yeah.
Fair analogy. Yeah. Now we're going to get into our fun segment of the day because we have Garrett Powell here, and you all know him and love him from The Bachelorette. We're really going to test your dating skills here, Garrett, because we had our followers send in questions that they had for dating advice, and we're just going to round table answer these questions, sort of rapid fire, because I do have quite a few on this little PowerPoint. So let's get into the first one. Dear Will and Amala, I like a girl, but she has a boyfriend and yet still hangs out with me on dates, etc. What should I do? Sincerely, this is Ken. I don't know how to say that name.
Kenny Choroto.
Yeah, something like that. 14. Yeah. Okay. What's
Garrett,
Spitfire
you
advice?
start us off.
Oh boy, hot seat.
He's a bachelor relationship expert here,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, expert. You use that term very loosely. What his name is Kenny?
It was like Kenny
sure.
Tori- I couldn't tell if it was like a Japanese name or like Hispanic or something.
Yeah.
call him Ken.
Kenichiro. Ito.
Yeah, call him Ken. Call him
Call
Ken.
All right, Ken. So the best thing you can do right now is support your friend's relationship, and it can be easy to get bogged down in the details, especially if you have feelings for this woman. But the best thing you can do for her, especially if you do have feelings for her, is help her succeed. And so let the cards fall where they may after that.
Okay,
Jeez.
that was solid.
I
That
don't
was solid.
agree.
You don't agree? Are
Nah.
you like a all's fair in love and war type of guy?
Well, no. I'm more like, tell that girl off. Like, why is she hanging out with you if she's
okay.
got a boyfriend and this is your friend? Like, tell her, like, stop hanging all on me if you're not going to give me what I want.
Okay, so you're more
Is she
assertive.
hanging on him though?
Wait, isn't that what she said?
Yeah,
and
she
yet still
said,
hangs out with
I
me
like
on
this
dates.
girl. She has a boyfriend, but she still hangs out with me on dates, etc.
Oh, so is he labeling them as dates, or is that? Or
Yeah,
does
that's
she
That's
kinda
know
another
tough.
thing.
Because
That's
he
a
might
whole
be
nother-
saying their
Oh.
dates.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. Because if she has a boyfriend, she's coming out and hanging out with you, you need to like cut that off and be like, either you're with me or you're my enemy.
If they're dates,
Don't make me kill
I'm with
you.
you. If they're dates, I'm with you.
Yeah.
He's
But
calling
if-
them dates,
Yeah, he's
though,
calling
right?
them dates. So I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah.
If she doesn't think they're dates, then the issue becomes communication.
Right.
Communicate with her. Hey, I feel like these are dates. Are they? And what are we doing here if they are? Because you got a boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're not dates, then try to be as supportive as you can. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
you're right. You're right. More so with you now.
I'll
Yeah,
give you
there we
my feminine perspective. So, if a girl is dating somebody and continues to hang out with you, she's probably getting something from you that she's not getting in a relationship. But if she's not
What is she
going,
getting?
I'm not going to go into what she's getting. It could be humor. It could be chivalry.
Hey, look,
it could
that's
be charisma.
exactly what Pam did on The Office with Jim. Right? Am I
Exactly.
right? It's the attention, it's the, all that. But
Right.
what does she really want for you?
Exactly.
From you?
If a woman really likes you and really wants to be with you, she will make that known to you, and she will not be in a relationship when she would want to be in a relationship with you. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say she doesn't want to be in a relationship with you, Ken.
No, I don't know, because there are some sneaky.
We don't
sneaky
know
broads.
enough about the information.
We don't know
Maybe.
enough,
That's
but
the
a
problem
girl
with all
will
these
make it known.
questions always.
Yes,
It's
I know.
like you get like
We gotta give it the best we
140
can.
characters and try to solve someone's life
All
problem.
right, so here's what
Even-
you have to do, Kenny.
No.
Since we don't have all the information, either A, kiss her,
I knew you were going to say that. I was about to say it.
Ah, don't do
Same
that.
button.
or just ask for answers.
Make a
No.
bold
Like,
move.
Yeah, just bold move and ask her.
If a
Because if
girl-
you think they're dates, you need to ask her.
No. If a girl wants you, she will make it known. If she's using you while also having a boyfriend on the side, that's not a girl that you want in the first place.
But if you want
I know,
her,
so
you
that's why it
should
gets
make
up-
it known.
But you
Yeah, you
shouldn't.
make it known.
But you shouldn't want a girl that has a boyfriend and is leading you on in this way. You shouldn't want that for yourself.
That's true, 'cause
It's
she'll
not
do
good
it to
for you.
someone else.
She will do it to you.
Yeah.
As soon as she goes, oh, I'm gonna leave Jimmy over here to be with Ken over here, and I'm gonna date you. Oh, it's gonna be like, oh, Ken. Well, Dave looks really good right now. I think I'm gonna go hang out with this other single guy. You don't want that.
I
Just
do
move
feel
on.
like her
It's a lot of
answer is going to
baggage.
give you all the clarity you need, though.
Yeah.
Because I feel like an answer to a question like that,
Right.
like, hey, what is this? I just think he's going to get every answer that he wants,
Sure.
or may not want in this case.
Have a DTR. Define
Yeah,
your, define
I
your
mean,
relationship.
but I don't care if the girl turns around and is like, oh, I really, really like you. If you really, really like me, you wouldn't be treating me this way. You wouldn't be hanging out with me when you have a boyfriend. You would cut the boyfriend and then you'd express your like for me.
Don't settle, men.
Don't settle.
And
Don't
women,
settle.
you too.
Don't settle for a little run around Sue.
We've all done it, but you can't settle.
You can't. Okay, next question.
Women only date men with mustaches. Okay? It's the only way.
Power move.
Yeah, power
Does
move.
everybody at this table have a mustache? I think so.
Well,
I'm working
Not
on mine.
single
To
forever.
some degree.
Tyler doesn't. But,
Tyler does.
Tyler doesn't.
I don't know
Tyler.
if Tyler, can you even grow facial hair?
Yeah,
Oh,
you
okay.
can tell. There's little.
Okay.
There's facial hair.
We call
No, you
that
look
peach
good.
fuzz down south.
Yeah.
Peach fuzz.
Intern Tyler's very good looking.
Okay, next question, guys. Dear Will and Amala, who should pay on the first date? Sincerely, 5 sisters, Lily. Lily has a sister for
one of the other
each
4 sisters.
Each of
Split
you.
it 5 ways.
Yeah, split it 5 ways.
The man should pay. Going on.
Yeah,
the
this
man
one
should
isn't much
pay.
of a hot take.
Yeah, there's no other.
No, none
answer
of these
to
are hot
this.
takes. This is just the man should pay.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to explain why the man should pay to all the young men out there who maybe are not paying on their dates or asking to go Dutch?
What is go Dutch?
That's when you like split for whatever you
Ever
ate.
heard that?
No, that should be illegal.
I think the man should pay, definitely for the first one. but keep an eye out for a woman who offers to split it, because that's a good partner right there. But you should still pay even if she offers to split it.
You
Right.
think so?
I think so.
I'm almost like, if a woman offers to split it, cut her off.
Really? 'Cause what is that,
Yeah.
a sign of her not liking you, or what?
No, a sign of her. Well, maybe, but also a sign of like, you want her to appreciate masculinity.
Sure.
You know?
I
Like,
think
she
if the
should
woman.
expect you to.
No,
pay.
but from a woman's perspective, it's like, oh, this would be a nice gesture. I'll let him off the hook if he wants, but maybe she's actually testing you to see where you're at.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
If a woman's
That's
like,
true.
no, I'm paying, that's the woman
Yeah,
you don't
that's
go
the
for.
that's the
well, that's
you don't
obvious.
go for that woman.
Yeah, but I think if a woman offers to split it, then that's a sign of a strong woman, which I appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I appreciate.
if you can't handle a strong woman, it's okay. Will.
I just want a weak woman.
nice
Do
mustache,
whatever
though.
I want.
Secrets out. Secrets out.
Okay.
Guys, again, just so you guys know who are watching, just join in, and people, we're also filming this on Instagram. We got Garrett Powell here, who is from the Bachelorette. Awesome. So that's why he's giving.
Also,
all
PragerFORCE
this.
member.
Also a PragerFORCE member.
Influencer.
Yep. So that's why we're doing dating advice questions with him. Also because I have no idea what I'm doing. So these are really just all asked by me.
You submitted them to my
Secretly.
Instagram.
Yeah.
Dear Will and Amala, I've been single for almost 3 years now. Worried my standards are too high? Question mark.
Worried me
This is from Clee Sanderson
Yeah,
or
right.
Cly Sanderson.
Worried me standards are too high.
Worried me standards are too high.
rainbow at the pot of gold.
Sorry, guys, I don't
Sorry.
always
What was the
type
question
everything
again?
correctly. She's been single for 3 years now. Are her standards too high? Which she didn't put her standards. But just
Yeah, I don't know.
express what you feel as a man should be fundamental standards for dating somebody, and then what outside of that is considered too high of a standard.
Breathing.
From a lady's perspective, what should she be looking for in a man, and what outside of that makes a woman's
Wait,
standards too
Kleiss?
high?
Is that a man or a woman?
K Lice. I don't know.
I don't know. I think
but
it's a
you
woman. I
saw
think
it.
I
Just
think the
answer the
username was a
question, Will.
woman.
All right. Well, it kind of depends.
I think it's a woman.
Because a woman
woman.
can drop her standards. I feel like more.
Let me check. But you guys answer for a woman right now. Just assuming.
It's a woman.
Okay.
Guys wouldn't ask this. No standard is too low for guys. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
It is a woman. Yes.
Okay, it's a
Okay.
woman. All right, cool.
I don't know. I tend to think this is a byproduct of kind of and we don't know how old this woman is, but I tend to think it's a byproduct of society putting pressure on women and men, but a lot on women to like find that one guy. But my interpretation of this is let's focus less on the standard and let's focus more on how you can continue to grow as a person. And I believe the right person will find their way in your life at the right time. That's always been my viewpoint on it, but just continue growing, try not to stress out about it.
Yeah,
Okay.
the things not to compromise on are character, values, integrity, things like that. The other things you can be more open-minded with is like some girls are like, oh, I only like guys with brown eyes, or I only got these.
Right.
Or like you have like the list that you wrote when you were 9 years old of like, you know, all the qualities they're gonna have and how they're gonna, you know, sweep you off your feet and all this stuff. And it's like if that's what's impeding you from getting in relationships, then yeah, maybe scale some back. But if it's, you know, I would say the things not to compromise on, like don't date a terrible guy who has no character and doesn't have the same values as you. That's compromising, and don't do that.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah,
think
yeah, you're right.
there's this view specifically with young women today that if your relationship is not this like whirlwind of fire and passion and he's the perfect Prince Charming and you've never met somebody else like this, then it's not the relationship for you. And I think there's specifically this narrative now with like young Gen Z women when you see it on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube that if the guy is not absolutely perfect and if you have to work it all to love this person or to be in love with this person, then it's not the relationship for you. And that's clearly not the case. Love is a hard thing. Relationships can be hard, although in most cases they shouldn't be. You know, they shouldn't be detrimental to your health or anything like that. But it's not always this easy road of Prince Charming with this man who's absolutely perfect in everything that you've ever wanted. Love takes work. So
Does. When I was in high school and like going through my first relationship, I was very, very stubborn. There are things that like I would not compromise on at all. Like even things as menial as like this music or movies or like stuff like that I would just not compromise on, that I've now changed and been like, okay, I'm much more accepting. We can watch one movie you like a month. You know, I'm much more
If she can't quote Lord of the Rings, she's not the one.
That's exactly right. I can feel it in the water.
I think that's good though, man. Like it's kind of like what you've all been saying. Is create a list of non-negotiables. That like, so for me, it's like she's got to be a Christian woman.
right.
Right.
She has to be a good teammate. She has to be very supportive. I will not have sacrificed that in the past and will not sacrifice it again. But then there are other things like, Will, if you want to give him one movie a month, maybe you might need to consider 2.
Well, you can't trust women with movie picks. Okay?
Oh my goodness.
The Notebook every month.
I know. Or I don't know.
I just watched Titanic with my
I like good
fiance,
movies.
which
Oh,
I'd
Titanic
never
is
seen
amazing.
before, but I did not realize it was like basically a romance novel.
Yeah, it's an amazing
Yeah.
film.
I see.
It's an amazing
You
film.
can't just watch Titanic every month.
I'm not saying to watch. I like watching a lot of different movies, but Titanic is great also. But yeah, make your list of non-negotiables, make your list of deal breakers, and then anything outside of that is sort of, for the par. You can just like figure out what you want to do with that.
It's lanyap, as they say in Louisiana.
There
Just a
you go.
random word for
Lanyap.
it's whatever.
Next question here, dear Will and Amala. Did I type
why did
all
you
of these
type
wrong?
this so
How to
badly?
test the waters of possibly dating with a friend without ruining the friendship. And this one is from the J.R. Yanby. I don't know how to say that.
All right, Garrett, give us your sage.
Ooh, man, I say go on a group date first.
Okay.
Don't take it solo first and take it very, very slow. And I would make your intentions clear too, and make sure you're on the same page first as well, before you just dive into something and you don't know how this other person feels. So yeah, I would recommend a group date first, and then make your intentions clear. Make sure you're both on the same page before you just dive into the deep end and they don't feel the same way as you. Let's say y'all.
Kiss her.
That's
Will, that's horrible.
everything.
That's horrible advice.
It's the best advice, okay?
That's horrible
It
advice.
works every time. Because you get the answer every time. You always know where to go.
Yeah,
from
but he
there.
doesn't want to ruin the friendship. That's the main part of this question.
Well, you can't.
Without
You're going
ruining
to
the
ruin
friendship.
the friendship. Also, I'm not under the impression that men and women can always be great friends.
That's Steve Harvey would agree with you.
Yeah.
Steve
So,
Harvey would agree.
Well, if Steve says so.
If Steve Harvey, that's a pretty good metric.
You know,
I think-
Bible, Steve Harvey,
I
Dennis
think that
Prager.
men and women can for sure be friends, But I think if there's that sort of tension already that hasn't been moved past yet, just go for it, Why
Just
not?
tell her?
Yeah, just tell her. Just be like, hey, I don't want to be friends. I want to wife you up. I
You
love
might
you.
ruin the friendship.
Well,
though.
it depends.
Who
if you're,
cares?
if you're
I'm
like
just saying you're going to
simping-
run the risk of ruining the friendship.
Yeah.
Don't take that advice without knowing that you probably will ruin your friendship if she doesn't like you back.
Yeah, exactly. Like you say all the time, like if a girl likes you, you'll probably know.
You will
And
probably
so
know.
if you're
Yeah,
just
you'll know.
if you're simping in the friend zone and you're like, oh, maybe should I shoot my shot? Like, the deck's probably stacked against you.
It is probably because girls really do. They really do make it clear.
yeah.
But sometimes you don't know. I mean, you can be friends with somebody for a long time and then it becomes a relationship. That has certainly happened before. It's definitely an exception to the rule.
I think for the most part, if a girl likes you.
You do.
Like, I think for the most part, and even if like you don't know if they like you, you definitely know if they don't like you in that way. I feel like,
There's a small percentage of the population of gentlemen like me who are just morons and can't read signs. Though. So
There are,
that's
you
most
gotta
of us.
think
true.
about those guys too.
Only some guys do that.
Only not Taylor or Will. They would never.
Most guys read all the signs.
Yeah. Listen, download my dating audiobook, and I'm going to give you guys the 3 steps.
Yes, for a cheap fee of
Doctors hate 'em.
$100.
Doctors hate him.
Find out how Will gets any girl with this one simple trick.
You could be like one of those Ty Lopez guys. Be like, you see
Yeah.
all these girls? I've dated all of them. Download my ebook right now to
You know
find
what I
out.
like better than all these girls? Knowledge.
But yeah, I mean, you're probably gonna ruin the relationship in some way, whether she likes you or whether she doesn't. It's probably gonna be over. I can't imagine the dynamic of a friendship after somebody knows that you like them and they don't like you back.
I
You
had
know what
that
I mean?
all the time in elementary school.
But did they know?
Girl. Yeah, this one girl who I really, really liked in elementary school. She was this black girl named Jordan. I think she's now like a BLM supporter. So
That's great.
I dodged a bullet in 3rd grade. I thought we were going to get married, so obviously, Anyway, but I really, really liked this girl. She could like sing, and she was really cute, and I really liked her. And then, everyone found out I liked her, and then they all made fun of me for liking her. And they bullied me for liking her, and then, obviously.
And how did that make
obviously
you
it didn't work
feel?
out. It
Little Willie.
made me feel horrible.
Aw.
Have a
Just turned
therapy
into a
session.
therapy
Yeah.
session real
Yeah,
quick.
exactly. Yeah, and now I'm taking it out on all of you.
This perfectly leads me into my next question. Dear Will and Amala, I'm in love with the Lefty. How do I convince him to put our differences beside us? This is from P. Paskin.
More like keep asking to put your differences.
It's horrible. Any immediate advice, Garrett?
If you're worth it, then you'll make it work. That's what I think.
How do I convince him to put our differences behind us? It depends. How leftist is this person is my initial question. Because if they are extremely far left, that is a fundamental difference in values between the two of you. And to start a relationship with somebody who has a fundamental difference in values, and to expect that relationship to be fruitful and lead to something like marriage or children is honestly, it's probably not a good idea.
I know what it's like. I've met left-wing chicks who fall in love with me, you know? That conservative guy.
And then you open your mouth and they're like, oh, I need to get out of here.
No, I'm saying
you
it's
make them
like,
cry.
No, there are like some leftist girls who are like attracted to someone with a different point of view, you know? And it's like,
but this one's a guy.
It's going the other way.
A guy.
I know. I'm just saying I get it. It's like people, like, it's kind of dangerous, you know? You got a lefty and you're like, wow, kind of communist, kind of hot.
I want to ask you this because since you are to be married, if your fiance, I mean, obviously, if you're committed to that point, you definitely are thinking about kids in the future. So if your fiance had different political views than you, what would you be thinking? Like, would you be okay with that, or is that non-negotiable with you because you're in fear of maybe what will be taught to your children, or how do you feel about that?
But I think it's like Lama said, like how different. Like there are some non-negotiable values that you have to be on the same page about. But then if there's other things are more a matter of interpretation, and if you're firm in your values, then you're not going to compromise on the person that you're going to end up with. And so for this question, it's like, well, I don't know. Is your love for this, you might feel in love, and I don't know if I don't want to question it or whatever, but like, is your love for this person worth sacrificing your values? Is ultimately what it comes down to, because you can't go into a relationship with the premise in mind that this person needs to change who they are fundamentally. That's not going to work. And so you have to go into it, saying that this person may never change. Am I okay with that? And that's where you have to start from. And if you're not okay with that, then like, it's not going to work.
Right. And based on the framing of this question, which I guess we don't get enough context in these questions. We've said that time and time again, but I'm in love with the lefty. Again. How do I convince him to put our differences behind us? So it seems as if this woman has already put the difference behind her. She's trying to convince him to put the difference behind him. And if that's not something that he's capable of doing, maybe it's not the relationship for you.
Yeah, I tend to find out in relationships that you can't change anybody. You can only make them a better version of themselves. And I think asking someone to change something they're not willing to change is a big red flag.
Oh, right.
And that's where I would end it on that one.
Yeah, it's a recipe to just like garner resentment in your relationship. Definitely. Next question. Dear Will and Amala, how to get my best friend's brother alone? Help. Joe Ruggs.
Joe Ruggs.
Joe Ruggs. How to get my best friend's brother alone?
Is a girl, I'm guessing?
I'm assuming it's a girl.
Well, there's obvious answers. Tie him up. Things that are very obvious. But I'm guessing that's not where we're going.
No, I'm not in support of this. Again, do you want to ruin a friendship? Do you want to ruin a friendship? If you want to ruin a friendship, go for the best friend's brother. If your friendship with this best friend is more important than your possible relationship with this brother, just leave it out.
Is this a serious question? I don't know if this is a serious question.
But if it was, what if it is? These things do happen.
This is a terrible situation. You should not be doing this. Or just the way that this question is being asked just makes me very skeptical of their intentions.
Well, either way, assume that it's real.
I don't want to help you get this person's brother alone. Like that's not where you need to start. Make friends with them. Have a conversation with them. You're not trying to like get them alone in a room to shack up. If that's like, I'm not, there's no good advice for you if that's your intentions.
Well, let's assume that this person means get them alone to like confess, to talk about feelings, to get something going. Let's assume that that's what it means.
Giving them too much of the benefit of the doubt.
I'm giving the benefit of the doubt because I want this to be a fruitful discussion about the possibility of somebody dating their best friend's brother. Is that okay in the first place?
Yeah, it's fine. Sure. Like, yeah.
Really? You guys are all okay with this? As a female, no, it's not okay.
If your best friend's okay with it, then sure.
Yeah.
See, that's the difference between men and women. that men are like, oh, it's fine. And women are like, no,
Yes.
I know this person, so you can't date them
Because
either.
here's what happens. No. Because here's what happens. It's like, I know a girl. I know a girl who actually works here at PragerU, and her best friend is actually dating her brother, and they're getting married. And I think those are exceptions to the rule. And then when you have a best friend and they want to date your brother, especially as a woman is going to tell you that it's fine, and it's not fine. It's not fine.
Well, naturally, a woman's going to say something's fine and it's not fine.
Right.
That's just
right.
par for the course.
So I'm saying you are risking your relationship with this best friend to be with their brother. So is it worth it?
That's what this person has to ask themselves.
I had, in high school, one of my sister's good friends had a crush on me.
Okay.
And
so what did she do?
How did she
to
get you
express
alone
that?
in a room?
Yeah. How did she get you alone with her best friend always around?
Handcuffs, actually.
My
No.
gosh.
No, but it was like, it wasn't, and my sister was like, oh, that's cool. You know?
Okay. So how did she express this crush to you?
I don't remember.
Do you remember?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I just remember it happened.
Fair
Leave
enough.
a trail of flower petals down the
Right.
hallway into a bedroom and then confess your love in there.
Yeah.
Candles,
Genius.
chocolate-covered strawberries.
Next question. I'm moving on. Dear Will and Amala, is there really any point today in modern society to get married? And this is from Alvaro Mesa, 5.
Well, there's one very obvious reason. Tax benefits. And that's going to be helpful for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else?
Well, I have no opinion on this question.
The soon-to-be married man has no opinion.
No, marriage is a much deeper thing than just love. And if all it's about is love, then it's transactional. But if when you are getting married, you're making a covenant promise to this other person before God that, I will not just love you unconditionally, but like serve you. And there's something bigger, deeper, and more meaningful in that than just being in a relationship. As long as your worldview is you focused, then yeah, you're probably not ready for marriage. But when you're ready to do something bigger than yourself and commit to that for future generations, and like a lot of this, we see it, like the nuclear family's falling apart right now. We have so many problems in society, and so much of it traces back to people like single motherhood and fatherlessness and all that stuff. And like, we need strong families, and it's much more honorable and more long-term fulfilling for you personally. There's a difference between short-term happiness and long-term fulfillment and joy. And if you only ever live for my short-term happiness in this relationship, you're missing out on something much deeper. And you need a marriage. If you want to have kids, you need a marriage to create a safe and healthy environment for them to be raised in. And so, you just, I think it's especially in LA here, it's like everyone's in Neverland, and it's all about, going out next weekend and who am I going to meet and how am I going to have fun and get wasted at the next bar. And your life, you just age and you do the same thing week in and week out. And I know so many people like that, and it's an empty existence, but it never feels though, because you get another hit every weekend and you're like, oh yay. And I don't want that.
Yeah. What about you, Garrett?
Yeah, I think, obviously born and raised in the Deep South, marriage to me, and the way I've always had explained to me, is that it's an outward visual of a promise that you made between you, another individual, and God. Mm-hmm. And it's not just about you and the other individual or God and the promise you made, but it's about that everyone else sees the promise that you made, mm-hmm. and understands that this isn't just a relationship. This is, holy matrimony. This is a trinity between, me, someone I love, and God. And I think that's just as important as, being with that person, is letting the world know, hey, that God is a part of this and God is leading this. And I think that's my belief, why we need marriage more now, more than ever, frankly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think you guys both gave, the biblical perspective on it, and just why marriage is great for you and your relationship with God too. And just in general, as a nation, marriage is so good. And we can see that as marriage has sort of died off as a cultural norm and as a societal norm, that our society has gotten so much worse. I mean, our birth rates are decimated. What it's like to just grow up as a young person is changed so much, because so many young people are growing up fatherless. We know that's the main problem for the Black community right now. And there's so many things that are tied to growing up without married parents. And I know a lot of people want to have kids, and they will have kids at some point in their future, but getting married is a key part of that.
Yes. You guys said all the
Anything
things
else?
that I was going
I
to
know,
say.
it's like everything was already talked about. We'll
So
move
I'm
on.
glad I said tax benefits first, so no one took that from me.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a good point with Taylor about happiness versus enjoyment, though, and Dennis Prager talks about that. You do so many things all the time that are, this isn't even just for marriage, just in your life, that are enjoyable, you know?
Right.
Watching Netflix all day, jerking off, all sorts of things that are very enjoyable to you, but don't actually bring you any sort of real value to your life, versus happiness, things that actually are hard to accomplish and make you a happy person. In the long run, you'll be much happier living that way than just looking for things that only bring your life enjoyment.
Yeah, it's true. Short-term enjoyment versus long-term happiness and fulfillment. And yeah,
Marriage is one of those things,
very true.
you know?
Last one here. Dear Will and Amala, red flags in relationships, question mark? Sincerely, Junior the Kid. We can just sort of rattle them off if you guys think of anything.
I mean, I've never messed around with red flags in relationships.
Oh my God.
But could spice it up. I don't know.
If that's what
I
you're
can't with
into.
these dad jokes. I can't. Red flags in relationships. There is so many. I don't even know where to start with what I consider to be red flags.
I'll tell you the biggest one that no one talks about, in my opinion, is that as someone that has stagnant growth because they think they know it all. I think it's somebody, because it's my, I'm someone that's been through therapy, and something that therapy taught me was that we all have issues based off of the way that we were raised in some point, and it's up to us to recognize those issues and shortcomings and work on them as a person. It's not our parents' fault. It's just our parents are humans, right? Just like
Right.
everybody else, we're imperfect beings. But someone that thinks they have it all figured out, and someone thinks that they are not going to get better, and someone that's not willing to push themselves to get better, to me, that is the biggest red flag that nobody talks about ever. And that's someone you really need to stay away from.
That is very true. We kind of live in this society that everybody is the way that they are, and you're just fine the way that you are. There's no ideal that you should be striving for. There's no way that you can better yourself. You're born the way that you are, and that's just what we should accept. And anybody who's going to tell you that in a relationship is probably not doing what's best for you. Yeah. Red
Well.
flags, Taylor? Red flags, Will? I think people that don't respect your opinions or anything that you have to say, major red flag. Somebody who will like steamroll you, and a lot of times this happens in relationships that have different sort of power differentials, which there automatically is with men and women. But somebody who like just allows you to become just a piece of them rather than your own person and your own individual in a relationship can be problematic. That's a red flag for me.
Nagging. Big red flag.
We're trying to be nuanced here, Will.
I would say
just saying.
someone who's willing to change everything about them to be with you is a red flag.
Yep.
But someone who's also trying to change everything about you is also a red flag. So you need two healthy people can make a healthy relationship.
Yeah.
So if you independently have a strong sense of identity, know who you are, know your values, you need to find someone else who those things are true about them as well. You don't want someone who is just at your beck and call and adapting themselves to your,
Your
to try
whims.
to try to that has no individual independent personality. And I when I was younger, I dated girls like that were super into me, but like very like just whatever you want, whatever you say, whatever, not like whatever you want to like do to me or whatever, like something like that, but like very much like adapting their whole worldview around. And it was like unattractive because I'm like, I want someone to contend with. I want to actually like be dating a independent person. I don't want to just
Right.
like
You
have
want a
someone who's like
teammate.
riding my wake. Yeah.
Right.
Very good teammate. And
Yeah.
then like,
But then on the flip side, there's like those radical feminist girls who are like, oh, you need to be this and you need to go to this protest with me, and I need you to speak up about this. I need you to have
Right.
these
You need to
opinions,
be an
and
ally.
You don't want that one either.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's like finding a healthy independent person who has overlap with your values. And So sorry, what were you gonna say, Garrett?
I was going to say that watch the person you're dating and how they treat people that can do nothing for them. So like even like simple as a janitor, or simple as I had an ex that treated waitresses and waiters terrible.
Such a good one.
At the time I was like, okay, this is wrong, but I didn't realize the grand scheme of from a long-term standpoint, and this woman possibly being my wife, that hey, this is a major issue. And so keep in mind on that, and keep in mind how they treat people in general.
Right?
I'll say, I guess, okay, I'll give a serious one.
You go for it.
I'll say
I have one too.
complaining.
Okay.
That's a big deal. and I also complain for a living. I understand that. That's my job. And I know it's kind of par for the course with women with complaining. But someone who complains about big things all the time, like I complain about a lot of little things, okay? Anyone who knows me knows I complain about little things all the time. Will say, this peanut butter and jelly sandwich was the worst sandwich I've ever had in my entire life.
Yes.
Okay, I'll make a big deal out about little things. But people in relationships who complain about big things that have happened in their life and then develop no plan to actually change those big things or put a handle on situations that come their way, someone with no sort of integrity to actually handle tough times, is someone you definitely don't want to be with. I've had girls like that, and when push comes to shove, they're not there. They're not there when things get rough, and you're like, wow, I wish I would have, like things, it's like the honeymoon phase. Like the honeymoon phase, things are really, really good. And you're like, this is amazing and I love you. And then something bad happens and they don't know how to handle it.
Right.
They're too weak.
That's bad.
You don't want a weak woman who complains and can't handle it.
Don't
and that's
get yourself
tough.
caught.
Okay, I know it's tough to.
Yeah.
I didn't think you were
find.
going to get serious, man. That was,
That was good. Yeah.
That was
Listen,
good.
bringing the hammer.
I have
I'm
one
a
more.
serious guy.
I have one more. We can keep going around with this all day, I'm sure. But another one, an important one, and has burned me in the past. Watch out for people's vices, and that's so important to have what you can and cannot accept. Because most likely, if a person has a vice when you start dating them and you are with them, they are going to have that for a very long time. I listen on SiriusXM to the Triumph channel, and Dr. Laura gets on there all the time, and she's just this hard ass psychologist who gets calls from women all the time. And one of the main calls she gets is women who have been in relationships for, I don't know, 20 plus years, and they call and complain and they say, well, my husband's drinking a lot, or my husband's gambling, or my husband's smoking a lot. And the first question she asks them is, was he doing this when you started dating? And every single time the woman says yes, and they think, well, it's just going to change, or he expressed remorse for it, so it's going to change. And it doesn't. So you need to...
Maybe the women should have stopped complaining about it.
And no, she literally goes, why are you calling me right now? You knew about this when you were dating. You can either complain about it, you can leave him, or you can put up with it. And that's what she says to them. And that's exactly what it is.
Wow.
If somebody expresses who they are to you in a fundamental sense when you start dating, it is more than likely that doesn't change. So you should decide right then and there whether or not you accept it. And when you start dating somebody and you're in those first phases of your relationships, don't stray away from hard questions. Don't stray away from deep talks, because that's where you truly get to know somebody. You don't want to get stuck in a relationship where you don't truly know that person.
That's the funny thing too, is that people, if you think about your past relationships, people have a tendency of either showing or telling you exactly who they are, but you tend to dismiss it early on and think, well, they'll change their behavior.
Right.
But you got to pay attention and give merit to that too.
Yeah. People who don't... I dated a girl, and she didn't really like indoor plants. And that was a big deal. Because they add so much to a room.
They do.
And they help your breathing inside. They're
That is
really good
true.
for you. So someone who doesn't like indoor plants that's
a deal
big
breaker?
deal breaker.
It's a bad...
Have you ever seen Cape Fear? Any of you guys the movie?
No.
It's got,
No, I haven't.
Robert De Niro in it. Anyway, the lady in it, Jessica Lange, she's the wife, and she's got this big room, and it's filled with plants. It's sick. It's like a jungle in there. That's what I
the lady
want.
you want?
Yeah, that's what I want.
Fair enough. Any ladies out there that are listening that have plants in their room, Will is par for the
So
course.
random.
Where are my gardeners at?
We got a super chat here from Nathan Coldis. He says, Amala, was great meeting you on Saturday. Great to meet you, Nathan. I brought you water. Thank you. Hot take. Tyler is hotter than Scott, and Will's mustache looks better in person.
Tyler is pretty hot. Let's give a shout out to Tyler before we wrap up the show
Tyler,
today, and
do you
just say he's been changing the camera things and filming it on Instagram.
Yes, he has. Tyler's been doing an
And
amazing
doing
job.
it so handsomely. So
Yes.
he's been doing it all today.
Very
Really
handsome
good
young
job.
man.
Yeah.
Garrett, any final words, a message of hope for the people listening? We've talked about a lot of probably not great stuff for a lot of people listening, but is there hope, and have you found that?
Yeah, well, that's a loaded question. I'll say...
I always try to go straight for it.
How much time we got left? I'll say it's easy to get bogged down with what I'd say the media in general tends to make you think that you're alone on an island out there, especially if you're a conservative, but there are plenty of all of us everywhere. And so don't feel like you're alone. Speak out on your opinions, and more importantly, grow and educate yourself on not only what you believe in, but why you believe in it. I think that's very imperative, helps you gain confidence. But I say also join PragerFORCE. It's what I did. There's plenty of like-minded people out here, and it's a great support system. And it's not only going to help you be more confident in what you believe in, but it's going to help you. They got people that are going to challenge you and force you to grow. So join PragerFORCE, and that's all I got for you.
Great. That was awesome.
PragerForce.com or text the word PragerFORCE to 64600 to join students, young professionals across the world. PragerForce.com, text PragerFORCE to 64600. It's for you on the phone, too. Phone people.
Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you really enjoyed the stream. Please like, subscribe, click the notification bell to be notified every single day when we go live at 2:30 PST, 5:30 Eastern. And you can now listen to us instead of watching us. If you don't like looking at our faces, you can go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play. Please leave us a 5-star review. Let us know how we're doing. I guess it could be a 1-star review if you don't really like the show.
No, then don't leave.
Preferably.
Yeah, what are you doing, Amala?
Don't invite criticism.
You guys can comment mean stuff. Don't give us bad reviews.
No free speech for 1-star reviewers. Censor them.
Yeah, censor them.
And a big thank you to Garrett Powell for being on the show today. Again,
Garrett, what's your handle on Instagram? Where can people follow you?
At rGarrettP, and
Nice.
I'm off the Twitter machine, so only on Instagram. See y'all there. Thank y'all for having me. It's been a blast.
Of course, man.
Of course.
Definitely. Someone had to come knock some sense into Amala
Now you
about
have some
dating advice.
Wow.
I always have to be the voice of reason around
Oh,
here.
yeah. Get married for the tax cuts.
Just kiss her.
Just kiss her. Get married.
No
then-
plant ladies. No non-plant ladies. Look at the takes
Well,
today.
All great advice.
It's all, it's advice. I don't know if it's great, but it's advice.
Perfect.
Thank you guys for watching. Bye.
Bye.